A typical day for me now looks like going to class, completing my assignments, the beach with friends, and ending the night by watching Lucien cook for me. It's a simple routine, one I have grown to love. There is something comforting about knowing exactly how my day will end. No matter how stressful classes become or how chaotic my friends get, I always know I can come home to the smell of whatever Lucien is experimenting with in the kitchen. However, tonight is different. It is my birthday. After weeks of relentless persuasion, guilt-tripping, and what I can only describe as harassment from my friends Cassie, Anna, and Esme, I was finally convinced to have a birthday bash. It was incredibly difficult for them to talk me out of my original plans. Personally, I thought spending the day at Malibu Beach sounded perfect. A full moon was scheduled for tonight, which meant higher tides and some of the best waves of the month. Apparently, my friends disagreed. According to them, spending my 23rd birthday alone at the beach was depressing, antisocial, and a waste of being rich. Their words, not mine. Still, I only turned 23 once, and if I was going to have a party, I suppose there were worse places to host it than my family's mansion in the Calabasas Hills. The second my final class ended, I practically sprinted home. The house was already buzzing with activity by the time I arrived. Helpers were moving furniture, carrying decorations, setting up tables, and preparing enough food to feed a small country. I informed everyone of the final details, answered a few questions, and then got immediately kicked out of the planning process. Apparently, the birthday girl was becoming a nuisance, so I left the rest to them. Upstairs, I stood in front of my closet longer than I cared to admit. I rarely attended parties, let alone hosted them. Eventually, I settled on an outfit that made me look like I had put in effort without looking like I had tried too hard. The last thing I wanted was for my friends to spend the entire night teasing me. As the sun slowly dipped below the hills, I could hear music beginning to echo through the house. Cars started arriving outside the gates. Laughter drifted through the open windows. The party was no longer something that was going to happen. It was happening. For a moment, I stared out my bedroom window toward the distant outline of the ocean. Somewhere beyond those hills were the waves I had originally planned to spend my birthday with. Maybe next year. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed my phone and headed downstairs. Tonight will be memorable. Whether that was a good thing or not remained to be seen.
Vexia. A typical day for me now looks like waking up just in time for my first class, throwing on whatever outfit is clean enough to pass as fashionable, eating, flirting, eating out, my favorite food, women. No, that only happens every now and then. The carniceria. Unfortunately, vampires have to eat their meat raw. Do you know how humiliating it is to sit next to someone eating a perfectly cooked steak while you're over here chewing on what looks like a crime scene? However, tonight is different. Tonight is a full moon. And tonight is food day. Real food day. Vale sat beside me on the couch, scrolling through her phone, while Vex sprawled across the armrest upside down like a bat. He claimed it was comfortable. He was lying.
So what's the plan? Where are we at tonight?
Where are
What's
we
the
at
plots?
tonight? What's the plot?
Vex, Vale sighed. You literally fed a month ago. Your feeding can last another 2 months. There is only so much we can consume in one night. You know that.
Vex dramatically rolled his eyes. For vampires, feeding is heavily regulated. We are only allowed to feast during specific full moons, and only a certain number of vampires are permitted to feed in a given area. Too many disappearances attract suspicion. Too many suspicious incidents create investigations. Too many investigations create hunters. Nobody wants hunters. Every rule exists for a reason.
Oh well, Vex said with a shrug. Guess you don't want to know about this function then. Lots of baddies tonight.
He winked. That jackass knew exactly what he was doing. I sat up immediately. What function? Nothing.
Vex.
Vex.
Nothing.
Vex. He grinned. There are very few things I hate more than when he makes that face.
There are going to be a lot of attractive people there.
Unfortunately, he was right about one thing. Attraction is my weakness and makes me uncontrollable at times, there is also a difference between feeding and drinking. Feeding is necessary, drinking is recreational. One keeps you alive. The other happens because you're greedy. Most vampires pretend there is a moral distinction. There really isn't. The only difference is that one is sanctioned by vampire law. The problem was that things were looking rough for me and Vale. Our feeding window was approaching, and luck had cursed us with a full moon on a Monday. Nothing happens on Mondays. Nobody throws parties. Nobody hosts events. Nobody gathers in large groups. Finding a suitable feeding location was becoming impossible. Vex, I said sternly. Details. Now.
Fine, fine. He threw his hands up dramatically. One of our classmates is hosting a birthday party tonight.
Who?
Clara.
I frowned.
Clara?
Clara?
The blonde surfer.
Oh,
Immediately
my mood worsened. Clara. Out of every person in our classes, Clara was somehow the most irritating. She always had this look on her face like she was perpetually unimpressed by everything around her. She stuck to her little friend group, spent half her time at the beach, and carried herself with the confidence of someone who had never been told no in her entire life. A rich Calabasas girl, a mansion girl, a private chef girl. And my biggest problem was deciding which beach to visit girl. I could not stand her, not one bit. Every class discussion somehow ended with me wanting to argue and bite her. Every interaction lasted approximately 30 seconds before she annoyed me. The worst part, she never seemed bothered. Infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. And don't even get me started on her eyes. Those stupid blue eyes. Piercing enough to make me look away first. Because of the light reflection, of course. I hated that. I hated how she took that one girl I wanted and didn't want her back. I hated that she knew my mother somehow. I hated her.
So, anyways, he said, Clara is hosting some huge birthday bash at her mansion. Plenty of people, plenty of food, plenty of distractions.
Vale and I exchanged glances. Honestly, we did not have many options. Well, I sighed, standing up. Based on our luck, there's not much else we can do with a full moon on a Monday. I grabbed my keys. To the blonde's house it is. A couple hours later, we were ready. The three of us changed into outfits that looked expensive enough to blend in, but not expensive enough to attract attention. The drive through the Calabasas Hills was quiet. As we approached the property, the sounds reached us first. Music, laughter, hundreds of conversations blending together. Then the lights appeared. The mansion practically glowed against the dark hills. Luxury cars lined the road outside the gates. People poured through the entrance in groups, dressed far nicer than any college student had a right to be. The entire place looked ridiculous. We parked a few blocks away and joined the stream of people heading toward the house. The smell reached me before the music did. Human, hundreds of them, warm blood, perfume, sweat, alcohol. Every heartbeat around us blended into a constant rhythm beneath the laughter. Hunger stirred low in my stomach, familiar enough that I ignored it. Beside me, Vale looked equally tense, her shoulders just a little too stiff. Vex, on the other hand, looked like he was having the time of his life. Naturally. The mansion sat above the neighborhood, like it owned the hillside. Every window glowed against the night. Music spilled across the lawn, vibrating through the ground beneath our feet. The pool was already crowded. People shouted over one another, and someone had climbed onto an outdoor table before we'd even reached the gate. Typical. My gaze drifted over the crowd, more out of habit than curiosity. Then it landed on her, Clara. She stood near the entrance as if the party had been built around her. Blonde hair caught the light every time she moved. Her expression carried the kind of confidence that bordered on arrogance, as though the entire evening was unfolding exactly as she'd expected. I couldn't decide which irritated me more, her blue eyes or her blonde hair. As if sensing it, she looked up. Our eyes met, only for a second. I broke the stare first and kept walking.
You okay?
Vale asked quietly, fine. The answer came too quickly. I told myself I was annoyed because she was here. It had nothing to do with the blood, but instead, Out of everyone in the crowd, she was somehow the only person I had noticed.